Red corner, he's wearing the dark blue trunks with white trim and weighs an even 145 pounds. He's from Hillcrest, Maryland. His professional record in excellent won 10 victories, only 4 defeats and 5 KOs. Let's have a hand for George Tricky Leach. And his opponent in the blue corner, wearing the white trunks with black trim and weighing 142 1/4 pounds, from the Big Apple, New York City. Undefeated as a professional, 12 victories, 2 draws, 10 big KOs, ranked number 8 in the world by the International Boxing Federation. Let's have a hand for John Wesley Meekins.
Steve Smoger with the instructions.
All right, gentlemen, you were given your instructions at the weigh-in. Are there any questions? Protect yourself at all times. Obey my commands. God bless. Touch gloves.
Now the rules.
10-point must scoring in effect here in New Jersey, with no 3 knockdown rule, and there is a standing 8 count. 3 judges score the fight. The referee does not. A fighter cannot be saved by the bell except for in the last round, and the physician may stop the bout at any time.
So George Leach, who literally got the call today to fill in for Harold Brazier, steps in there against the very tough and promising John Meekins. Good left hook right away. Meekins shows you that he is a good counterpuncher and has that power.
And that the ligament damage in the thumb apparently does not bother him in that left hand.
He had ligament damage. Good left hand by Leach. So Leach not backing down to Meekins. Meekins has only had, in the last, he's fought 2.5 rounds this year since March 21st. So he is a little rusty.
Leach would try to extend him out past a couple of rounds and make that become a factor. One thing about Leach, who came in here at noontime today, is there's no time to get nervous in a situation like that. Sometimes fighters can perform very well under those conditions.
He has the height and reach advantage over John Meekins. And he has dropped a couple right hands on Meekins. John, they had the 1-round fight with Harold, 2 rounds really with Harold Brazier, the headbutt or clash of heads that caused the technical draw. Good jab by Leach. And he had a 1-round knockout on August 5th over Davey Montana. And before that, March 21st of this year, he beat Grant the Flame Walters, knocked him out in 6.
One thing to keep in mind here throughout the fight is that Leach hasn't fought since May 30th against Sanford Ricks here in our tournament, losing an 8-rounder. And fatigue could become a factor for him even faster than Meekins.
Leach lands a good right hand. Meekins, of course, the Olympic alternate in 1984. And we've watched him on ESPN progress very effectively as a pro. Minute left to go here in the first round. It's scheduled for 10. Leach with a good left hand in there. So George Leach has held his own here in the first round and even nailed John Meekins with some pretty good shots. Meekins with the good jab. He's got a good one. Little mouse underneath the right eye already of John Meekins, where he's been nailed with a couple of left hooks. Half a minute left to go in round 1, and right now the height and reach advantage of Leach giving Meekins some trouble as Leach lands a good straight right hand.
Meekins doesn't see this style too much.
No, very tall fighter in front of him, and George Leach having himself a pretty good first round here. This could be interesting. Well, come on back for the second round. The first one has been more than some expected. To meet George Leach. And if you're joining us late, Meekins was supposed to fight Harold Brazier for the NABF Junior Welterweight crown, which Brazier now holds. But Brazier came down with the flu. So many people have it. Dave and I are suffering from colds. We hope you're healthy wherever you're watching. And Harold could not fight. He had 102-degree temperature. We hope to get a chance to chat with him tonight. He's sitting here at ringside, but was really in no condition to fight. And Dr. Doggett examined him and just wouldn't let him proceed. Meanwhile, George Leach trying to make the most of what for him is an opportunity.
And in the first round, he was able to stay outside. It was a pretty torrid pace for him, and he's been able to keep it up here in the second.
Leach only has 4 KOs among his 10 wins. And 5 KOs, excuse me. And so he's not a devastating knockout puncher, but he does have a little power.
And a pretty puzzling turnaround of fights. When he beat Vinny Petway, who was a good contender, previously undefeated, that looked good for him. But then he came back against Sanford Ricks and lost.
In a fight that I think many people thought he would win.
Be a significant favorite coming in, yes.
Yeah, but that was in our welterweight tournament, our ESPN welterweight tournament, which, by the way, will conclude next week. Fallon Braswell and Raleigh Williams. But right now, it's John Meekins landing some big power shots, and the left hook has hurt George Leach. Meekins is an outstanding finisher, and we have a minute and a half left to go in round 2.
Leach should be trying to hold on. He's not doing that.
Oh, George Leach in all kinds of trouble. And that left hand to the body by Meekins really hurt him. Meekins digging left hands underneath. So what was a good first round for George Leach, it's turned into a nightmare here in the second. Leach driven backwards by Meekins. And Steve Smoger may stop the fight. It's a standing 8 count.
3, 4, 5, 6,
You check the fatigue all over Leach.
He says he wants to continue, and Steve Smoger, I think reluctantly, says okay.
He'll get one more shot, but if he's in any kind of trouble again, it will be stopped.
Meekins just wailing away to the body and the head. Leach trying to counter off the ropes. It's a numbers game. There's 32 seconds left. Can Leach survive this second round? He turns southpaw, and we've seen him do this before. Will he deter Meekins? Big left hands on the inside by John Meekins, and an uppercut. He is manhandling George Leach on the inside. Leach now turning to southpaw, seeing if that will help him defensively against Meekins. And John Meekins just continues to blast away to the body and the head. Leach makes it through round 2. Just barely. Let's listen in.
Which was surprising.
We head into the third round. Joining us at ringside is Harold Brazier, the man who was supposed to fight John Meekins. Harold, I know that you're disappointed because of the flu that you had. You must have been very weak here today.
Yes, and I ran a high temperature of 102 degrees this morning.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a little disappointing day for me.
Well, I guess so. And George Leach now feeling the power of John Meekins. But fighting back. You've taken some fights on short notice. Tough to come in on the day of a fight like Leach has.
Yes, it is.
He got the Meekins, it looks like, with one good shot there. Oh, good right hand. He pushes Meekins back to George Leach, fighting back. A big uppercut hurts Meekins. George Leach turned the tables on John Meekins, and he has hurt him with some good shots here. Counter right by Meekins.
Leach was able to keep Meekins at a distance and use his reach advantage, which he did.
Well, the decision by Steve Smoger to give a standing 8 instead of stopping the fight, apparently proving to be a worthy one, because George Leach has come back like a lion here in the third round. You know, those right hands were the kind you were hoping to try and land on Meekins.
Yes, it was.
Fatigue will be Leach's biggest enemy in this fight if he's got one. Now you see the mouth open. He really did expend a lot of energy going after Meekins right there. It seems like he's got an ebb and flow. Sometimes the tiredness, and sometimes he recovers.
There's the right again. Is Meekins open for a right, Harold?
He's open for a lot of right-hand leads.
That's the punch we saw Ozzie O'Neill, a fighter you beat and he beat, hit Meekins with occasionally. John, a very powerful puncher, but sometimes defense is the problem for him. We're in round 3. Good right again by Leach. And George Leach, who was nearly out here in the second round, come back well in the third. It's scheduled for 10. Junior welterweight, John Meekins in the white, George Leach in the blue. He's a very late pinch hitter for Harold Brazier, who's sitting on my left, had to bow out because of the flu. They exchange lefts, and Meekins gets there first. Again, the right by Leach. Left hook by Leach. John Meekins driven backwards here in the third round. So George Leach, who looked all but beaten when the second round ended, is a new fighter now here in the third. John Meekins in the white against George Leach, and it's been a war so far, Dave.
You really have seen a lot about George Leach's heart in the third round. He was on the verge of being out, and he really came back strong. A lot of courage, took his shot, and performed very well in the third round, particularly that right uppercut that seemed to turn it all around.
Oh, yeah, and the feeling is that when John Meekins nails a good junior welterweight, he's going to go, but Leach didn't go. And Harold Brazier is with us, the man who, of course, as I said, was supposed to fight tonight here, but has the flu. As you're looking at Meekins, and you are the NABF champ, so if he wants that championship, he's going to come through you. What is your assessment of his performance so far?
Well, he's still open for the same shots I figured he'd be open for. And I wanted to carry him into the later rounds because, you know, he's got a reputation of being strong and have a good punch. And then I wanted to see how strong he'd be in the later rounds with his punch and his defense.
Okay. Well, we'll see if he can carry George Leach in the later rounds and how Leach may fare with him. Leach turns to lefty. What do you think of that strategy, Dave? He was effective as a righty.
I would question going over to the left side like that. It's usually a sign of confusion. He's got the momentum going his way.
Well, already, whatever happens in this fight, by flurries in the first and third round, George Leach has done more against Meekins than many thought he might. Good left hand by Leach.
You know, from the left side, Al, he's more of a boxer. He's been slugging more from the right side. He's more patient right here, and he uses his jab more from the southpaw stance than as a right hand.
Now, he's getting hit less as a lefty, so we question his strategy, but defensively, as you say, it might be helping him.
He tries to load up more from the right side, and he's more of a tactician from the left side.
Steve Smoger in between these two fighters, and he played a pivotal role in the second round when he did not stop this fight, but made a standing 8 count for Leach, and the doctor didn't stop it in between rounds either.
Good call.
Half a minute left to go, and we want to thank Harold Brazier, who is here. And Harold, I know you will want to get back in action quick, and if Meekins would win this fight, I know you would like to defend against him.
Yes, I would.
Well, but a lot remains to be seen. In any case, good luck to you, Harold. We've enjoyed you here on Top Rank Boxing. Okay. Meanwhile, round 4 is winding to a conclusion here. We'll be back for the 5th, and this one's interesting. So John Meekins ranked number 8 by the IBF and undefeated at 12-0 with those 2 technical draws. Finds himself on Dave Bontempo's scorecard at least 1 point behind.
For Leach, the important thing is he's gotten through the early rounds and now has to believe he can win.
And, you know, he's counterpunching pretty well off those ropes. Now, Meekins, he likes this posture, and he's landing some, but he's also getting nailed.
Up the middle, that's the best spot for Leach to land his punches, and Meekins is trying to dig to the body.
We remind you again not to make excuses one way or the other, but George Leach did come in here on a moment's notice, called this afternoon to replace Harold Brazier. And he is acquitting himself well. And John Meekins suffering maybe from some ring rust, but he's doing well here in this round. Takes a couple left hands.
You talk about Leach coming in and performing well. Nothing to lose. Came in here very loose, and he's taking a shot.
Look at that knockout ratio. Shows you that Meekins a bigger puncher, but Leach bouncing those right hands off the shin of Meekins.
Meekins is a big early rounds knockout puncher.
When he has been forced to go a long ways with top fighters or better fighters like Ramon Santana, Joey Farrell, who both took in 10, he's had a hard time producing the knockout.
And Leach is cut around the left eye, around the right eye.
There is plenty of blood. It's on the side of the eye. I wonder if that came from the heads banging on the inside. It's going to be a long-time situation, and Meekins fights twice against Martin Quiroz and Brazier. We've seen cuts. Good right hand by Leach. It's a war now. Meekins nailing him with good shots. Tremendous uppercuts by Meekins. Steve Smoger stopped the fight. He says, I've seen enough, and that man, John Meekins, while he took some punishment early, he's relieved to get this win.
Smoger saw the pattern beginning to change and knew from the past how far down it could go for Leach, and so he stepped in when Meekins was unloading the unanswered punishment.
And there was no protest from George Leach, so a very subtle move by Steve Smoger, because it came quickly, but he was able to move in very fast and stop this fight. As you look at John Meekins, a young man who, boy, he must have learned some lessons here tonight.
Well, we'll find out just exactly how far the pro career of John Meekins has come along. This is Melvin Richardson, his opponent from Trenton, New Jersey. Again, he's 6'1", 142.5 pounds. Rather auspicious record at 3-2. And we'll see what he can do against this man, John Meekins, 19 years of age. He's 2-0. And Al, he hasn't had a lot of time in the ring. He got a first-round knockout in his pro debut. And his last one resulted in a third-round knockout. So he hasn't gotten a lot of work, but he's opened up the eyes of a lot of folks already, I think.
Well, we've seen John Meekins already, and he is a fighter who is not opening his pro career with the ballyhoo of the fighters that did it in Madison Square Garden. But we're starting to see a lot of these fighters. Andy Minsker is one, Michael Nunn last week, who were very good amateurs and came within a whisker of being Olympians, and they're good fighters.
Again, John won the Eastern Regionals of the Olympic trials, went on and lost to Jerry Page in the box-off in Colorado. Missing his chance, Jerry going on and winning the light welterweight gold medal at Los Angeles. Now Meekins in his third professional fight here in Atlantic City tonight. Meekins in the white. Melvin Richardson, taller of the two at 6'1" in the red.
For Meekins, this is one of those learning fights that you hope you don't learn the lesson the hard way. He's fighting a southpaw who's taller than him. So you're certainly seeing something a little bit different.